ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Morons and a Mic. I'm your host, Cody McCauley, and with me, as always, is Ted Kinney. This week, we are going to get into some news and injuries from yesterday, some reactions, studs, panic meter, and we'll do a heat check on our predictions episode, which was our very first one. So, got a lot to fit in on this one, so let's get started with some news and injury report. Tua obviously has a concussion problem. He's out. He's meeting with neurologists, and we're just not going to speculate on his future career. Tell me about Justin Herbert. He got hurt, right? But he didn't miss any plays?
Yeah, he didn't miss any plays.
What's the buzz there?
They think it's an ankle, but again, they don't know.
He has ankles?
But he didn't miss any plays. He's a really tough guy. I mean, we all remember that he played through the rib injury that sidelined Marcus Stroman in baseball for like 4 months or a couple months. Herbert didn't miss a game. He didn't miss a play. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So you're comfortable starting him. Got it. No. Christian.
I'm not comfortable starting him. You can only throw the ball 20 times a game.
I trapped you there. You see what I did?
I did.
All right, Christian McCaffrey. Achilles is still bothering him. They're looking at a possible IR stint. I traded him at the greatest time ever.
Yep. It's official, though. He is on IR.
Oh.
Yep.
When did that drop?
Sunday? Saturday?
Oh, okay.
I forget what
I missed that. I thought they were still talking about it.
No, it's official.
Tyjae Spears, his ankle, didn't return to the game. Waiting on a report there. A lot of these we should know more today or tomorrow on. Isaiah Pacheco, we got the news this morning that it's a broken fibula. It's expected to go on the IR, which is sad because I have Pacheco in quite a few leagues.
You want to trade him to me?
Excited about him. Huh?
You want to trade him to me?
Nah. I'm going to stick him on my IR and move on. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he had a contusion and some cramping. He did not return to the game, though, but he should be fine.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp.
Dan Campbell said he'll be fine, and Dan Campbell's usually pretty reliable about that.
Yeah, and if he wasn't, Dan Campbell would just bite somebody else's kneecap off and give it to him. Cooper Kupp hurt his ankle and was in a walking boot. That's a little concerning there for the Rams, considering Puka Nacua is already out, and their offense looked like garbage.
Most of their offensive linemen is on IR too.
Good old Rams. Hate to see it. Actually, as a Niners fan, I love to see it. Anyways, Justin Jefferson, quad contusion, was day-to-day, did not return to the game. And then for those of you who have kickers on your fantasy team still, for whatever reason, A, don't. And B, Graham Gano injured his hammy, and the Giants played all game without trying to kick the ball. Which is crazy because punters practice place kicking. And you're telling me a 30-yard field goal, you didn't feel comfortable enough for extra points. So you let Daniel Jones try to get you a 2-point conversion.
I'm not seeing the issue here.
All right.
Remember,
let's get into the game reactions because that just broke my brain right there. All right, first game we had was Buffalo and Miami, 31-10 over Miami. Obviously, Tua went down. Buffalo's looking really run heavy, and I don't know why I traded James Cook. What did you see out of Buffalo?
I'm gonna be honest with you. They looked run heavy over the last year too. Once the offensive coordinator changed from Ken Dorsey to offensive coordinator changed from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady, the team was a lot more run heavy. So Allen probably, he runs enough to where he'll still be really great. But I don't know if he'll be QB1, given that he's just not going to see that passing volume. James Cook, on the other hand, is going to get a significant bump if the usage we saw on Thursday night continues. He got a carry inside the 5-yard line, and that was what was really capping his ceiling before. Last year they had Latavius Murray for some reason. Here everybody just kind of assumed that Josh Allen would take those. But if James Cook is getting carries inside the 5, he's going to be a top 10 running back with the usage he's getting. And Buffalo's offensive line is moving people. You still got to respect the pass because Josh Allen is still awesome. So yeah, keep an eye on that.
All right. Let's switch over to the Miami side. Obviously, like we said a couple times now, Tua went down. His replacement, Skylar Thompson, um, had a zero point 0.7 QBR
Yep. He
for
was
that
saying
game.
we're not in Kansas anymore
Yeah. I don't. Is what?
because he went to Kansas State. He went to college in Kansas State. Like Dorothy said, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Okay. I was trying to figure out where you were tying, the Wizard of Oz into Skylar Thompson.
Look, I got two in the weeds. It's okay. It happens.
Okay. All right.
Happens.
Tyreek Hill had his usual bad Buffalo game, 3 for 24. HN played well. Jalen Wright did not. So this is why we're called idiots with a mic and not geniuses with a mic, because we're sitting here talking about Jalen Wright being awesome.
Yep.
And he was RB3.
Yeah, and he didn't really even play. Even when the game was a blowout, Tua was out, and Jeff Wilson left the game with an injury. They were still throwing Achan out there, which didn't make a lot of sense because you're like, guys, you kind of need this dude going forward. Why are you risking him in a game you can't win?
Hey, maybe
Which
they're more
really,
excited about Jalen Wright than Achan. They're
yeah.
trying to
Well,
be more careful with him.
that is the scary part for me, is that indicates to me a real lack of trust in Jalen Wright. And if he really has that little trust, yikes, that's bad.
Fade your Miami pass catchers until Tua comes back. I mean, I'm still starting Hill and Waddle, but they're like a wide receiver 2-3 flex
Based on
option
where you
for me.
drafted him, you almost have to start him.
Yeah, if you have something better, play him.
Yeah.
Chargers beat Carolina 26-3. J.K. Dobbins is good at this football thing, and apparently so is Quentin Johnston.
Yeah. So here's the thing about Johnston. If you look at his RP profile from last year, or his college profile and his profile from last year, none of it said that you should put that man at the X, like on the line of scrimmage. He's not a deep ball tracker. It's just not his game. It wasn't his game in college at TCU. It's not what he's good at. He's good at yards after catch. Well, the team drafted him and they said, yeah, we're going to use him as yards after catch. We're not going to use him as an X receiver. We were going to play to his strengths. When Mike Williams went down, like the prototypical X receiver, jump ball downfield guy, they stuck his ass at X, and they said, go do X receiver things. And he can't do that. So I think it was a combination of it affected his confidence. They weren't using him right. This coaching staff, who's not a bunch of morons, is using him in a way that he's actually good at. Now, that's not to say they won't throw him downfield, but they use him on a lot of crossers and stuff like that, where he can get that full head of steam, yard after catch type deal. You know what I mean? Get him involved.
Yep.
Get the hands.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you still have Greg Roman to deal with, so I wouldn't go that far about your.
At least my team isn't dealing with Brandon Staley anymore, unlike somebody's.
Oh, did you see? I got my new Cincinnati Bengals shirt. All right. Let's talk about Carolina. Actually, let's not. Mama told me not to say anything if I don't have anything nice to say.
Yep.
So we're going to skip Carolina and go straight on to Saints 44, Dallas 19. Crazy stat for the Saints and Derek Carr. They scored on 15 out of 15 possessions to start the year before Carr threw an interception in the fourth. That is insane. To come away with points on every single possession for 15 possessions.
Yeah,
that's just insane to me.
The
QB2, Derek Carr.
I feel like the INT was almost like a heat check for him. It's like when you're crushing it in the NCAA and you're like, yeah, I'm going to throw this pass even though I shouldn't.
Yeah. It's like, man, I am on fire. Let me see if what was that? NBA Jam. I'm on fire. Let me shoot from the other hoop and see if I can. Oh, I'm not on fire anymore.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Is the Saints offense the real deal?
The Saints offense, I think it is the real deal, because the real question with them from week one, when they faced the Panthers and they were under just zero pressure, and the Panthers have possibly the worst defense in the NFL, them or the
Worst
Commanders.
team in
Yeah,
history.
but very bad. The question was always, how is Derek Carr going to do under pressure? The Cowboys have a very good defensive line. For whatever issues they have in coverage, they have a very good defensive line. I mean, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, like they have a great defensive line. They pressure people. And Clint
Not great
Kubiak,
against the run, though.
not great against the run, no. But Clint Kubiak put on a masterclass. Last year we saw the remnants of the Sean Payton offense. And that was a real problem for them because they don't have Drew Brees running it anymore. Drew Brees is gone,
Right.
so it doesn't work when you don't have a future Hall of Famer running it. The offense is stale. It had gotten stale. They didn't have any fresh ideas, so they bring in Clint Kubiak. And, last year they were dead last in the NFL in play action and in motion rates. This year they are first in both. He's scheming, like he's helping guys out. Like Chris Olave didn't run any layup routes last year. They didn't really focus on getting him the ball in space. They're doing that this year. Rashid Shaheed, last year it seemed like they were just like, go run deep throws that Carr is never going to throw.
Mm-hmm.
And this year they are actually really focused on getting him the ball. I think you really bump up Shaheed to like wide receiver 2 territory.
I mean, they're still sending him on deep routes that
They are still sending him on
Carr
deep
is
routes,
hitting
but
him on.
they're also doing other stuff to get him the
Yeah.
ball because he is an underrated route runner as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they were using him in the run game a little bit. He had 3 carries yesterday. Like they're getting
really
him
like
the
Shaheed.
ball because he's so good when he has it.
Yeah.
So that's
I
all
really
just
do like Shaheed a lot.
And then Micah Parsons had an interesting quote this morning.
Ooh,
So
what do you say?
Kubiak's offense is designed with misdirection, play action, all that stuff to slow down the pass rush, which, as we talked about early in the season or before the season, I thought the Saints' offensive line would be garbage because they just don't have a lot of talent. I still don't think that their offensive line is very good, but they're really helped out by that scheme. Parsons said it was like trying to go through a maze to get to the quarterback because of how it was schemed up. They
Play
slowed
to your
it down just
strengths.
enough. They slowed that pass rush down just enough to buy that extra 0.2 of a second, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but in the NFL, it's a big deal.
And Derek Carr is best when he's in play action.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and we can just send Clint Kubiak to the Bears now. That'd be great. We can just go ahead and end the whole Matt Eberflus, Shane Waldron thing.
No, I want to watch the Bears struggle for a little bit longer. Let's talk about Dallas. CeeDee Lamb's still really good. The Shoon Man got 6 targets, so a decent fill-in for Ferguson, who we expected to maybe miss 1 week. He may miss next week too. We just don't know. Just keep an eye on that. And outside of that, the rest of Dallas's offense looked like doo-doo.
Yeah, so the Saints defense is still really good. Like they've been a consistently very good unit, and I just don't know what more to say. Like I think we really need to bump our
Is it
expectations.
more about the Saints defense or
I think
being
it's a
really good,
combination.
or Dallas's offense being bad outside of CeeDee Lamb?
I think it's a combination of it. So last year, the Dallas offense had Pollard. They don't have a running back like that. Zeke he's looked better than I thought he would, but he's not good anymore. Last year's
Brandon
Pollard
Cooks, but
Brandon Cooks, but he's like, what, 33, 34? Like he's not really a great second receiver. He ideally would be a 3 or a 4.
feels like he's been in the league for 20 years already.
It feels like a long time. I remember him watching tear my Ducks apart in his last college season at Oregon State. So that was fun.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. You're starting to talk about Oregon, so we got to get busy here. All right, Green Bay 16-10 over Indianapolis. Josh Jacobs is the offense. He had a 34-5 run versus pass just in the first half.
Yeah.
So everyone knows now, if you want to beat Indianapolis, run the ball.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, Joe Mixon had 70 yards in week 1 against them. And if you listen to the quotes that Gus Bradley said, it's because he was playing the pass, which makes a lot of sense against Houston. With those 3 receivers, I'd play the pass too. Let Mixon try and beat me rather than Nico Collins, Sankell, and Stephon Diggs. The difference, though, is that, I mean, when you let Green Bay run it all over you, with Malik Willis starting at quarterback.
Yeah.
Are you playing coverage against Malik Willis? Because that's not good. You should not be playing coverage against Malik Willis. Like, there's no
Yeah.
way that this dude who's going to be on the team a month is going to be throwing the ball all over you. Like,
I
it's
love
just,
his quote about, or the story about why he didn't throw it on that third down.
oh yeah,
About the center throwing up on the ball, and
yep.
Malik Willis is like, you know what, I'm just going to take one for the team here.
It was a smart play. Malik Willis played a lot better than I thought he would. Real credit to Matt LaFleur on that and Malik Willis. But
Yeah. And they took away Richardson's deep game, and they didn't really have any designed runs for him. He didn't take off very much.
nope.
And we saw a bad game from the Colts.
Yeah,
Alec Pierce still had a good game, but
Richardson's he's able to do things that no one else on the planet could probably do. Like that throw last week to Pierce, where it was 60 yards on a dot when he couldn't step into it. Like, I don't know of any other quarterback that can do that. But, for every throw like that, you're going to get some inconsistency because ultimately Richardson just does not have a lot of experience as a quarterback. Like, he only started the 1 year at Florida. He didn't play the full year because he got hurt. He doesn't have that many
got,
reps.
what, five games as a quarterback or something like that?
Yeah. So, we're going to see inconsistencies as far as accuracy and decision making. Like, that's just part of the game. So when he doesn't hit those deep balls, when he doesn't get the scrambling stuff, it's going to be rough for him. Hey, Cody, balls. Can we pause for a second? I got to let the dogs out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will stare at the camera lovingly and adoringly. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. We are happy you're here.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm
back. And we're back. All right. Getting into it. Tampa Bay 20-16 over the Lions. Baker Mayfield is QB1 on the year right now. He's looking fantastic. So what I said about him not being able to support two wide receiver ones, just take that, throw it in the trash. This is why I'm called an idiot with Mike. I'm sorry, moron with a mic.
That's right. Idiots.
Keep playing him.
Yeah, big upgrade to Chris Godwin. Last year, Godwin only played like 35% of his snaps in the slot, which is where Godwin is best.
Mm-hmm.
This year, it's up to like 70-ish%. Like, they clearly want to get him in the slot, which is a big reason why.
Where he thrives. Put your best players where they're best.
I know. Real shocker of coaching right there.
Big if true. Big if true.
That's right. So, Mike Evans is obviously awesome. He didn't have a big game in this last one, but he's you don't sit Mike Evans. Like, he's going to catch 2 touchdowns at some point again.
Yeah.
And you're going to be just fine.
And we'll talk about him a little later, but Rachaad White looked like trash. So
Rachaad White looks like he always does, where it's, his running style is just it's not what the Bucs want.
Yeah. And then on the other side, you had your typical Jared Goff, Jekyll and Hyde game. He has a good game 1 week. The next week, he throws up a stinker. I think next week they're on the road, right?
I'd have to look, but I know they're not outdoors in the elements. So,
yeah. Well,
that's where he struggles.
Yes, he also struggles on the road. The Niners are never going to win in Minnesota again. Apparently, Vikings
may not ever win again because they are cursed by Brandon Staley.
They are cursed by Brandon Staley. Yes. They are 0-7 in Minnesota in their last 7 meetings.
Is it
in Minnesota at least?
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't won in their last 7 trips to Minnesota, which is embarrassing. The offensive line let Purdy get just absolutely demolished all day. Even Trent Williams was getting beat up, which, they just gave him all that money too. It's kind of sad. But they'll be fine for fantasy. And then I have a side note in our notes. In my expert moronic opinion, Fred Warner is a top 5 player in the NFL right now.
As far as moronic opinions go, it's terrible because it's actually a true one.
Okay. I just didn't know if you were going to argue with me. Like, it's not top 5 linebackers, top 5 defensive players. This is top 5 NFL players right
He's
now.
arguably
He's
the most.
so good.
He's arguably the most important defensive player in the NFL because of what he allows San Francisco to do defensive scheme wise. Because nobody else can do what he can.
From going from it feels like the Packers, going quarterback to quarterback to quarterback. We went from Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman to Fred Warner.
Yeah, blessed.
There's a
Hashtag
little bit
blessed.
in between, but Sam Darnold is the QB3 on the year. Sam Darnold
Yep.
is the
Kevin
QB3.
Stefanski, man.
Sam
Or
Darnold,
I'm sorry.
who is QB3 on the roster for the Niners,
Yeah.
is QB3 on the year.
And what makes this last game even more impressive is Jefferson was out for a little bit of that game. Jordan Addison didn't play. TJ Hawkinson didn't play. Aaron Jones left the game for a little bit. Niners have a good defense, and he still was playing pretty good.
Yeah, I forget his name, but number 20 on the Niners cornerback, he kept picking on him, and he was losing every battle. So I hope they bench him.
Probably the scary part is, do they have anybody better? But anyways, let's keep going.
No, they
Let's
don't.
keep on moving.
Jets 24-17 over the Titans. Rodgers got his first win as a Jet. Offense looks stagnant and boring, and there's some dude that's a running back that's taking touchdowns away from my boy Brees Hall.
Yeah, Braylon Allen.
I'm not happy about that. I don't even know who that is. I don't even want to repeat his name.
It's from Wisconsin. Fourth round draft pick, I think. Fifth round. Anyway,
absolutely rude.
I think the scarier part is that the Jets' offensive line, the running backs' yards per attempt before contact is dead last in the NFL at 0.1. They are being contacted on average 0.1 yards past the line of scrimmage, which is not great.
So they're in the backfield on almost every play going, "Hey, I've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty."
Yes, exactly. And you can't hang up on them. They are very weird. It's very unfortunate.
Calvin Ridley, still really good at football. That was a beautiful catch he had. I loved it.
It was.
It's the only good thing Will Levis did all day. Will Levis is like putting mayonnaise in your coffee. It's just a bad decision all the way around.
That turnover was like the funniest thing I think I've ever seen since that one Josh Allen turnover in the in the divisional round or wild card game a couple of years back, where he did like the no look lateral as he was being tackled to the ground, and predictably it didn't go well. And you're like, what are you
the whole I'm being tackled, let me try to
as a guy I can't even see, just like
it was a little embarrassing. Jared Goff also had a just disgusting looking interception where he threw it and they picked it off, I think, in the end zone. There wasn't a blue jersey in sight. The middle of the field, receivers were all on the outside, and he's thrown to the middle of the field. Like, who are you throwing it to? There's nobody there.
They'd call grounding if it was not off. You know what I mean?
Right? All right, moving on. Seattle 23-20 over the Patriots. Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm going to take a victory lap on this one. I called it. 16 targets in this game. And they had a dropping problem in this game. DK dropped 2. Noah Fant dropped 2. Smith and Jigba dropped 1. And they still at 12 receptions for 117 yards. And DK went off 2.
Yeah. They're using them. Ryan Grubb, awesome OC. He's using those guys and making them get layup routes. He's using them in the things that they're best at. Like, he's even giving, DK the layup routes, like crossing routes over the middle and stuff like that. It's where he can build a full hit of steam. Like, his yards after catch was the highest it's been in his career, I think, yesterday, on a per catch basis. And it's just really great to see, what that offense looks like without Shane Waldron. And now the Bears need to upgrade from Shane Waldron.
You keep saying a certain term. I've heard you say it a couple times, a layup route.
Yeah.
Can you tell our listeners what a layup route is?
Layup routes are routes designed where it's going to go to that guy, and you're going to have like a rub or just a short route, just anything to get him the ball quickly, where, like, you can take away deep routes. So even if the guy wins on a deep route, if you have a safety back there, right, even though he wins, he may not get the ball. The quarterback may be under pressure. Safety may cover deep. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into that. A layup route is one where there are less variables that you have to consider. So it's a much greater likelihood that you're going to get that guy the ball with a full head of steam to where he can maybe make something happen after the catch too. You're
To
going to
the
get him
Debo
involved.
special.
Yeah. But a little different than Debo because those are like screens and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of designed touches, layup routes for Debo in that offense too. So kind of like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's talk to the Patriots just real quick. Run heavy, scrappy team. They really don't look bad. The main problem I see with the Patriots is the fact that only 3 wide receivers caught a pass.
Yeah.
And they only caught 1 each.
Yeah. The Patriots are playing a very conservative brand of football because their offensive line sucks. But I also don't quite understand the coaching staff. Like, Jalen Polk is their best receiver right now. They need to play him every snap. Tyquan Thornton, they're using him as their X receiver. We've seen Tyquan Thornton for a couple years in the league now.
Mm-hmm. We don't really want to see more.
He's not really good. Why I don't understand why they're not playing Javon Baker. Like, I know that they want to, make guys earn it and whatever, but Javon Baker was an underrated prospect coming out of UCF, and he profiles as an X receiver. Throw the kid out there. Let him, know what you have, right? If you see some flashes, then maybe you're set at X receiver and you're set at another receiver spot next year with Jalen Polk. You're probably set. They like Demario Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
But
Gerard Mayo, if you're listening, play the kid.
Play the kids. Play the kids.
All right, Hunter Henry to the moon. Hunter Henry had a fantastic game, mostly because they were running in 12 personnel, tight end heavy sets.
Yeah, help out that offensive line. They're going to live in that look.
It's like the Patriots of old, with the murderer and Aaron Hernandez.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who murdered other teams, and then, Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, the guy who actually
murdered people. Washington 21-18 over the Giants. This is the kicker v. no kicker game. Swiper, no swiping. Kicker, no kicking. Brian Robinson looked great. Jaden Daniels, watch. He was QB 13 on the week, but he is still in the top 5 for the year. And their kicker scored all 21 points. And they signed him on Monday.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Talk about it.
Good debut.
He had the second most field goals in a game.
Yeah.
The record's 8?
Yeah,
he had 7. Oh, yes.
Yeah, he had 7.
Yeah,
he had 7. The record's 8.
21 divided by 3. This is why I'm a moron with a mic.
We're not mathing in public today.
Listen, Washington looks like we thought they would.
Yeah, that defense is a problem.
Yeah. A lot of stalling out. Your top receivers are Ertz and
Noah Brown, I think it was. And
Ertz and
that doesn't make sense to me. So this is we talk about a lot of offensive coordinators on the show already. Mm-hmm. We're seeing the Cliff Kingsbury. They've basically forgotten that Terry McLaurin exists.
And I keep trying to stand up for the guy.
Yeah, don't.
I'm not going to do it this week, though.
No, yeah. It's the Terry McLaurin offense, and I don't understand.
You know what we did get in this game, though? You know what we did get? We got the Daniel Jones bounce back QB 5 on the week game.
Oh, I was going to say we got the Malik Neighbors breakout special, because here's a fun stat for you. Malik Neighbors had 18 targets.
Yeah.
His target share was 64%. No one with a minimum of 15 routes has ever had a target share that high in a game. They realized last week when he only had 7 targets, I think it was, they were like, oh, sometimes it really is as simple as best player feed ball. And Daniel Jones.
Big if true. Now, Neighbors did have that really bad drop there at the end of the game.
He did.
Just under 2
minutes left. Absolutely. But overall.
that was not a bad ball thrown by.
No, it was a good throw. And Neighbors owned up to it after the game. He said he let down the veterans. But ultimately, if we're talking about what this means for Neighbors long term, Neighbors is knocking on the door of being a top 5 fantasy receiver for Dynasty.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how many receivers are taking over him because that was outstanding. And
It reminded me of Justin Jefferson's breakout.
yeah,
Or Puka Nakua, since, Puka had 20 targets in a game last year to break out.
yeah, yeah. But his
All right.
quarterback was good too.
Yeah. Browns 18-13 over the Jags. They played a game of football. That's
Yep.
all I got.
Hopefully, Deshaun Watson isn't a quarterback in the NFL for much longer. Brian Thomas Jr. real good. Feed that dude.
Yeah,
And
2 for 94. They
let's
just
move
need to
on.
get him the ball more. But to get him the ball, they actually have to block for Sunshine.
Yes,
The Sunshine's back there getting beat to hell.
he was averaging 1.5 yards per attempt through the first half,
Ugh.
which is
That's because he has no time.
I mean, he's not playing perfect, but
No,
yeah,
he's not.
it's a lot of issues with
It's
that
hard
offense.
when you're constantly under duress like that. And the Browns do have a good defense. I mean, Myles Garrett is that dude.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and don't ever sass him because he'll rip your helmet off and beat you with it. Raiders 26-23 over the Ravens. Devontae Adams. Again, big if true. If you get your best player the ball, good things happen. Oh, down by 10 in the fourth quarter, and you come back and beat the Ravens because you gave Devontae Adams the ball.
You should probably hook up with Arthur Smith and remind him of that because he doesn't seem to know that.
No, he doesn't. Brock Bowers, I was excited about Bowers coming into the season. I know you were less excited, but
I was
9 targets, 9 receptions, 98 yards. He's turning into Mr. Reliable. I mean,
he's exceeding my expectations. I was worried about the offense he was in, but he is that dude. Like his target share is fantastic. He looks fantastic. Like, I mean, again, I thought
at
that
football at least.
They'd feed,
He needs to be in a Rogaine commercial.
Myers, and they'd feed Adams, and then whatever was left would be spread between him and Mayer. Mayer's not really getting that many targets, but Bowers is getting a crap ton of them, and I think he's getting even more than Jacoby Myers, who is a very good receiver in his own right.
Yeah,
so
and Mayers is lining in line a lot more than Bowers is too.
Yeah, which that fits.
He's a better blocker.
Mayer's profile coming out of college was that he was more of an inline guy.
Yeah. Do you think John Harbaugh's seat is getting a little warm?
I do not. No? I know he's had some games that he's blown, but I mean, we're a year.
He's been there for a long time. You never know.
We're also a year removed from them going to the AFC Championship game, and damn near beating the Chiefs in that one to go to the Super Bowl. He's got a Super Bowl win. Like yeah, it's not ideal. He's got to fix something, but his seat's not hot yet.
Okay. All right. Justin Tucker is cooked.
Yeah.
He is 1 for 7 on field goals past 50 yards in the last 2 seasons. He just
let's blitz through this because we're already at 33 minutes.
All right. Arizona 41-10 over the Rams. Arizona's offense looks real good. Who's your favorite player there?
Marvin Harrison Jr. We told you guys not to panic. That's good. I'm going to victory lap Kyler Murray. He looked freaking awesome. We got to give credit to Buffalo's pass defense because they did shut down that team over the second half last week, and we just watched Buffalo do it again this week. So there's a real high likelihood that, hey, guess what? Sean McDermott's a really good defensive coach, and Buffalo's defense is real freaking good. So, everybody overreacting to week 1, don't. Marvin Harrison Jr. hit 20 miles an hour on his 60-yard touchdown. He's not
two touchdowns over 100 yards in the first quarter. Gotta love it.
And he had more that were just a little bit out of reach. And Kyler just played so good.
I still don't think that first touchdown was a touchdown, but they called it such, so it doesn't matter.
Don't matter.
James Conner looked great. Trey Benson looked like crap. 11 carries for 10 yards. That was not good to see. No Cup and no Puka make Stafford a sad man. And that's really all we need to say for the Rams because I'm not starting any of them.
If you're really desperate, Demarcus Robinson maybe, but that's it.
Yeah, maybe. Chiefs 26-25 over Cincinnati. Kelsey is 4 for 39 on the season.
Yep.
I think the Swifties have drained all his talent, uh, or he just hit the age cliff. One of those two.
I think it's simpler than that. I think that they're trying to load manage him and not get him out on routes. I mean, they don't need him for the regular season. The Chiefs are going to roll. They just don't need him, especially with the emergence of Rashee Rice, who can work the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the field, which is what they used Kelsey for generally. Just
Yeah,
like
and they
last
still have Noah
year.
Gray, I think
Yeah, and just like
that's his
last
name.
year, he didn't put up the
He's good
stats that he
enough.
usually does in the regular season. But then when the playoffs rolled around, he looked like the Kelsey of old, maybe a little slower because he's 35. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not concerned about him. I wouldn't want him for fantasy football this year because again, they're going to load manage him. He's probably not going to have huge numbers, but tight end position is real thin. So what are you
So
going
a
to
down
do?
game from Mahomes. Was it an issue with the offense being stagnant, or is the Bengals D that good?
It's a combination of Kingsley Suamataia got baptized by fire by Trey Hendrickson repeatedly to the point that he got benched in the fourth quarter. Lou Anarumo is a defensive god. They've slowed Mahomes in the past, and then also we're getting a little bit of the same issues as last year, where Hollywood Brown was really going to complete that receiver room for KC. Obviously, he's out. So Worthy, he's fast as shit, but he's still a rookie receiver, still adjusting to NFL speed.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rashee Rice is the best receiver there, but aside from that, you have Worthy, who's not a high volume guy at this point. You maybe do a trick shot every once in a while to him, or deep shot every once in a while to him, but
Yeah, and you
who else
just
you
lost
got?
Pacheco. So
Yeah. So
okay, Burrow looked good. Wrist looked fine. You talked about last time. You talked about more play action and more Burrow under center, and we actually saw that in this
yep.
game. And they should have won this game, but the shirt says it all. That fourth and what was it? 4th and 26, 4th and 16,
Fourth and
something like that.
16. Yeah,
Fourth
fourth
and
and 16.
16, a PI. Come on, man.
Well, the fact that they let him get into open space, Rashee Rice was in open space. If he doesn't interfere with him, Rashee Rice catches that pretty easily. It's like you can't let him get into that much open space on 4th and 16. That's
Yeah,
just fail of
it's
defense.
all right. Steelers beat Denver 13-6. There was a game of football that was played in Denver. That's it. Houston beat Chicago 19-13. Uh, I thought Houston would blow them out. So I think this is an issue of you have so many mouths to feed that sometimes you can't get into a rhythm very much.
I don't think that's
Uh,
it. Chicago's defense is really good. I mean, they won a game last week where the Bears didn't score an offensive touchdown, and they won. Like the Bears defense is really really good.
all right, I'll give him that. I'd like to see more from Tank Dell,
I think
and
we will. I'm not concerned about it.
I'll let you victory lap Nico Collins later.
I'm victory lapping the shit out of that, dude.
All right.
I mean, look,
Chicago, on the Chicago
yeah,
side, they kind of look like Carolina, and I have nothing nice to say about them.
yeah, Caleb Williams' rookie season's not going great. Shane Waldron, he was the offensive coordinator for Seattle last year, and a lot of the same issues. No layup routes, no none of that. But Geno
Mm-hmm.
Smith, being the seasoned vet that he is, he was able to manage that muddy pocket a lot better than a rookie making his first and second NFL starts is going to be able to do. So
Yep. And
it's
I know
not.
you were a lot higher on Caleb Williams coming into the draft than I was. I did not see him as a number one pick. So, but we'll see. All right,
Yeah.
let's get into our studs and duds.
Yep. Studs and duds.
I've only got two. I only have two studs. I don't know if you want to add any. For quarterback, just passing's been down all across the league lately.
Yeah. 193 yards per game.
Yeah, Kyler and Derek Carr, basically who I want to mention outside of other people that I've already mentioned.
Yep. Kyler's so
Played
good.
fantastic. Anyone you want to add there?
Not a QB, no.
Okay, let's move on to running backs. I've got Alvin Kamara, Achan, Cook, Hall, and Dobbins.
Yep.
Anyone? Anyone you
No,
want to add?
Kamara is very interesting rest of season, especially
Yeah.
that Saints offense looks legit. And if they keep being able to do that, I mean, they didn't have any negative plays in this last game against the Cowboys defense that thrives on creating them. Like
Yeah,
that's
he looks like the Kamara of old.
he
So
does.
it's good to see. For wide receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr., Marvin the Martian, as I'm going to call him. DK, have it your way. Malik, I want to be your neighbors. Nico Collins and Devontae Adams. I'm not going to make up nicknames for those two guys
Yeah.
because I can't think of them off the top of my head. Anyone you want to
Here's-
add?
I actually have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Who would you take dynasty receivers over Nico Collins? It is a very short list.
Dynasty wide receiver over Nico Collins.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, that one's obvious. Yeah.
Jamar Chase.
With his lack of contract and the Bengals offense,
Someone's going to give him a contract.
somebody will.
It's
but
not like he's going to go into next year with no team.
I mean, like
All right,
honestly,
listen, I get it. You're gonna victory lap him in the prediction check. Let's move on.
all right. Let's do it.
George the Greg Kittle.
Thankfully, he's okay. Yep.
Thankfully he's okay, but he had a great game. I like when they get Kittle involved more. Hunter Henry, Bowers, McBride, and Gesicki had a great game for Cincinnati.
I do want to say to our listeners, I know that he only had 6 catches for 67 yards and he recovered a fumble in the end zone for his touchdown. But Trey McBride, the big games are coming. The utilization rates, the snap rates, the route participation rates, the target per route run, all that stuff is super high level. And as weird as this sounds to say, after a game that he had 18.7 or 18.6 fantasy points, whatever it was, go buy him now. Before the big
buy
game.
low. I don't know if you're buying low. I mean, 6 for 67 and a touchdown is a good
that
game.
Touchdown was a fumble recovery, and he's coming off a week 1 in which he wasn't all that great. So I'm just saying, if you can get a good price on him, now is probably the time to do it. Because they ain't going.
No, tight ends aren't really ones that I target in trades. Duds. Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Jared Goff. We kind of talked about all those guys already. Is there anyone else you want to throw in there? Maybe Lamar.
No, just those 4. And then I'll take the running backs. We got Rashad White, Joe Mixon. Hopefully he's okay. He's getting an MRI on that ankle. I don't know how that wasn't a hip drop tackle. All the Rams.
No, it is. It is. And they haven't called a single one.
Yep. I know. Zamir White, who is ceding so much work to Madison, and that offense also looks terrible running the ball. So
yeah, I was really high on Zamir White coming in.
I know.
Rams running backs.
Yeah. Kyron, I mean, the offensive line.
The offensive line is trash.
So bad right now. I hold them until, you give them 4 or 5 weeks. Hopefully they'll be back and healthy, but it's going to be kind of a rough couple weeks until those guys get healthy. Like Kyron still scored a touchdown. I still think Kyron does okay, but he's probably not going to, justify the first round pick that you likely had to spend on him, at least until that offensive line gets a little healthier.
Fair. Receivers. Why don't you take the receivers too?
All right. Brandon Ayuk, I still wouldn't panic yet. Don't forget, he didn't practice with the team. So, last week was the Jets pass defense. This week was the Vikings, who had, Brock Purdy and hell on passing downs, which is generally where they target Ayuk. In fact, Darnold
they don't usually target Ayuk on running downs.
No, they don't. They like to run it. I'm a little concerned that they're going to have to evolve. I actually think Ayuk's outlook for the rest of the season has gone up because of the McCaffrey issues. McCaffrey's explosive run rate was twice what Jordan Mason's is this year. Mason's doing really well, but McCaffrey brings an element that Mason cannot match in the pass game and in the run game with the explosive plays. So they're going to have to manufacture that from somewhere else, and Brandon Ayuk is the best way to do it. So I think long-term over the season, I think Ayuk's ceiling is actually up a little bit. I still don't think they're going to throw all that much, but I also think, again, it's gone up a bit.
All right. Give me a couple more.
Terry McLaurin has been relegated to Cliff Kingsbury hell, so just really unfortunate for him.
As we mentioned earlier, I can't defend the man anymore.
Stephon Diggs, it was a game against, again, the Bears defense is really underrated, and aside from Nico, just none of the other receivers are going to do anything against that Bears defense. That's just the way it is. Jalen Waddle, he did okay, but Tua getting out, that really screwed that team over. And again, the Bills' pass
Zero
defense.
point 0.7 QBR.
Yep.
0.7.
And the Bills' pass defense is really good. I mean, look at what they did to Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. last week. Like, Bills' pass defense confirmed good.
Yeah,
Michael Pittman, that is a panic a little bit. We'll cover, I think he's in the panic meter.
he is not.
He's not. Well, then we'll cover it now. I would be having like a medium high, like a level 4 panic on him. You probably can't sell him after the games that he's having, but if he has
Nope.
a really good game, I might be tempted to see what I can get for him out there and try and sell high.
Fair enough. All right, tight ends. Travis Kelce, we already talked about it. Taysom Hill got hurt, but
Yep.
also turned in a dud of a game. Hopefully, he's going to be okay. Sam Laporta, we'll talk about him here in a second in the panic meter section. And Isaiah Likely finished behind Mark Andrews, just like we warned you would happen last week. So let's move on to the panic meter section. This is the one I'm pretty excited to get to. I'm going to give you some names, and on a scale of 1 to 5, tell me how panicked you are about them and why. So let's start off with Deontay Johnson.
Can I go 10? I know my hot take, my bold prediction was that he was going to finish as a wide receiver 1, but that was built under the premise that Bryce Young would improve over last year.
He's regressed.
He's gotten worse, which is really shocking. So he, like, no matter what Deontay Johnson is or isn't doing, we can't even tell because Bryce Young he's been so incredibly bad. Honestly, at this point, he's been so bad that I don't see how he makes it through the season. You're going to lose the locker room. You're going to lose the veterans. Andy Dalton may very well grace our TV screens again as the starter for
the Red
Carolina.
Rocket returns, baby.
And I mean, I can't see how he's going to be any worse than this because he wasn't even under pressure against the Chargers. He wasn't under pressure. He was the least pressured quarterback in the NFL against the Chargers on Sunday, and still was not good. That's bad.
Who would win in a matchup? The 0-16 Lions or this Panthers team with Bryce Young at quarterback?
Nobody. It'd end in a meteor would strike the earth and send us all into.
That's the correct answer. Nobody would win.
We would all
It'd
lose.
be the least watched NFL game. Those are the type of games we need to send over to England. Let them.
That's right. It's
let
like
them
in
deal with
Billy
the
Madison,
crap games.
when he says, "At no point in your response did you approach anything resembling a coherent thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it." That would be this football game.
All right. Moving on to Terry McLaurin. We kind of talked about him
5.
a little bit earlier.
Yeah, 5, 100%. Cliff Kingsbury.
Still 5. Okay.
Just terrible design of the offense. He had less targets than like De'Ami Brown, and that's not good.
Okay. Who would you rather play? Would you rather play Terry McLaurin or any Rams wide receiver that's left?
Honestly, any Rams receiver that's left. I just don't have any faith in Cliff Kingsbury. I have so much more faith in Sean McVay to at least get Demarcus Robinson something. I mean, Demarcus Robinson had 2 catches for 50 yards in a game that Stafford was getting obliterated because of a poor offensive line, and Kupp did play for, first half of that game.
Yeah.
So that's better than I think what we're going to see from McLaurin at this rate with that offense.
All right, Sam Laporta.
4. And that's not through any.
Really?
Yeah, it's not through any fault of Laporta's, but the targets that Jameson Williams is earning, and he is earning them because he's playing really well, have to come from somewhere. You're not taking them away from Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get his. Sam Laporta's 4th on the team in targets, like a distant 4th, behind those 3 guys. So it's not anything like Sam Laporta's not bad. All of a sudden he didn't forget how to play, but Jameson Williams gives that offense something down the field that none of those other guys can. Nobody else on the too.
Do you think, and real quick, because I know we are running short on time, do you think that they are sometimes trying to force the ball to Jameson Williams more than they need to?
No, because again, that speed is real. Like, you see what he does on those crossers. That's the indication that all that coach speak that they had this offseason about how he's really playing really well and grasping the offense and doing all this stuff. It wasn't just coach speak. He really is. Like, the Jameson Williams we saw a couple years ago, they're doing, or last year even, they're doing deep routes, and that's pretty much 90% of what he ran, clear out routes and stuff like that.
At
Well,
Alabama.
this year he's running curls, he's running crossers, he's running all this stuff designed to get him the ball, like 3 yards
Mm-hmm.
after catch, deep stuff. I mean, you saw we talked about it last week. Snatched Trey White's soul out of his body.
Yeah.
Like he's been really good. So those targets have to come from somewhere. You're probably not taking them away from Amon-Ra St. Brown.
He is hurt, so we'll see. All right, last one, and it's going to be another tight end. It's Dalton Kincaid.
I'm going to bump this up.
My guy.
2.5.
2.5. Okay.
2.5. His target share, we've already talked about the Bills. They're really run heavy. So, like the Bills of the beginning of last season where they were passing like the second or third most in the NFL behind the Chiefs, there are lots of targets to go around. Well, there are not a lot of targets to go around anymore. I figured that Dalton Kincaid would dominate those targets because, I mean, you look at you got Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, the rookie. Like there's not a lot there. So I figured that Dalton Kincaid would kind of dominate those targets. That hasn't happened. His target percentage is like 6% on non-screen routes. So, it might be an issue of game script because they didn't really have to throw against Miami.
Mm-hmm.
It might be, any number of things, right? Like the Cardinals in week 1 were really focused on Kincaid because they probably thought the same thing I did. There's that still, it's 4 Cardinals defenders around him. But it's just mildly concerning and something to look out for the rest of the season.
All right. Waiver wire ads, we're talking basically the same 2 wide receivers we talked about last week. Adonai Mitchell and Khalil Shakir, if they're still there, grab them. And then because Pacheco's hurt, someone's going to have to take over that backfield. And it's either going to be Samaje Perine or Justin Steele or a combination of both.
So Carson Steele.
Steele.
I think it'll be Samaje.
Justin Steele, an offensive lineman?
Yeah, I think so. From back in the day, if I remember right. But I think it'll be Perine. He didn't really play. I know he was like, he didn't get any carries in this last game. Yeah, he's been on the team for a week. But I think he will because Steele is a fullback. And not only that, he's a fullback who lost a fumble in this last game. And there is no quicker way to a coach's doghouse than losing a fumble. So it's either Perine, Steele, who again is an undrafted free agent fullback who lost a fumble, or it's Keontae Ingram, I think, is on their practice squad. And
gotta love the Chiefs. Lose a fumble in the doghouse, crash a car and run away from the scene after racing down the freeway in Dallas. Wide receiver 1, baby.
Yep. Hey, one of those guys is an undrafted free agent you really didn't need. The other one is very important to your team's success, so they're going to let him slide. They're going to let him get away with whatever he wants.
All right, let's take a look at some of our predictions from week 1.
Pretty early, but let's recap.
Pretty early.
Some of them.
You called Kyler Murray as QB1. How are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling pretty good because he's up to about 120 yards, I think, rushing. We already talked about the Bills' defense is real good. Put a cap on him passing in week 1. But in week 2, that defense is not terrible. And he hooked up. We saw the chemistry with Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he only had like 4 incompletions. There was the scramble play where he threw it to the back of the end zone. Elijah Watson, I think is his name. Where you texted me like, who is this?
Who is this guy?
But again, the rushing ability is super encouraging because you can't finish QB1 without rushing ability. And Kyler is showing that. He hasn't scored on the ground yet, but he will.
Yeah.
That's coming.
I called he is QB3 right now on the season.
I still feel good about it.
Still feeling pretty good. He's behind Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr.
Those two guys, they ain't running much. So again, as Kyler faces not the Bills,
Carr's not running at all.
Yeah, exactly. As Murray faces not the Bills more often, I think that we'll see that gap close. And also some of the other guys that would normally be in competition for QB1 through their fault or through their circumstances' fault, whatever, Looks like they're not going to finish QB1. Josh Allen's been QB1 3 out of the last 4 years and QB2 in the 1 year he wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, just like I mentioned before, if they're throwing the ball 20 times a game, even with his rushing ability, he's not finishing QB1. So that opens the door from there.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes, if he's not hitting deep balls, he's not finishing QB1. He doesn't run enough. He runs a little bit, but he doesn't run enough to finish his QB1 if you're
Yeah.
talking that. Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson's offensive line, I mean, shit, I could block half as good as those guys. Half as good as those guys. Okay, it'd be worse with me in there, and I would turn to dust in one play. But one play, I might slow him down a little bit.
All right. I had one of the, I think, more spicier takes with Jaden Daniels being a top 5 quarterback in his rookie year.
Yep.
As of right now, he is QB4 on the season, right behind Kyler Murray. And that's after having a pretty down game where he was, I think, QB13 on the week. But on the flip side of that, I also called Daniel Jones a top 10 quarterback. And even though he had a QB5 performance this week, Daniel Jones is still QB21.
Yep.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So that one not feeling great. And to close us out on this segment, I'm going to let you victory lap your guy.
Yeah, so Nico Collins, I traded for him and drafted him everywhere I could in fantasy football. I think I have him in all but one league, in fact. I've got him in the 2 out of my 3 dynasties. I tried to trade for him in the other one. But luckily for that guy, he didn't give in to my trade requests. Drafted him in every redraft league I've got. I firmly believed that the guy that's 6'4" destroyed man in press coverage last year at a top 10 rate since 2014, tied to CJ Stroud, and can run like he can and make stuff happen after the catch like he can. I firmly believe the Texans weren't stupid enough to take him off the field after he established himself as the guy. And it appears that CJ Stroud agrees with me because he is the guy. So if you have any doubts on Nico Collins, I don't think you've been watching football, because the guys that are built like him, can run like him, and do stuff after the catch like him, there are not very many in the NFL. On the flip side, Deontay Johnson being a top 10 receiver, it's not happening. Oh, man, that Panthers offense is just incredible bad.
It is. It is. And that's all we have for this week. That's all the time we have. We're running short here. Thank you for listening, and we will try to get another episode, Wednesday, you think? Wednesday, Thursday?
Probably Friday, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see. But thanks for listening or watching on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials, and give us love. All right. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.